Hello and welcome to In the Art Scene podcast, a place where we celebrate creatives from all walks of life. This holiday season, I wanted to share with you a few bonus episodes about small art businesses that I personally love. They're great if you're looking for unique gifts for artists and art lovers in your life. I hope you will join me in supporting them during your holiday shopping spree. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to In the Art Scene podcast. This is the end of the year. We're not producing the new season until January, but I have a couple of bonus episodes for you, and these are the treats that you guys are going to love for the holiday season. And my first guest is Erin Null from San Diego. So if you're in San Diego, you're gonna love it because Erin is running a really, really cool art shop. So let's start with introducing you properly, Erin. I'll give a word to you and then we'll go from there.
Hey, I'm Erin. Nice to meet you guys.
So this is going to be your second anniversary of the art store. And tell us a little bit about how did you come up with this idea? Are you an artist yourself? How would anyone... Like, this is not an art gallery. This is a store, but you are such a crucial part of the San Diego art community. I know that you are working with artists and within your neighborhood, you're creating some cool, really interesting stuff. So tell me more about the story.
Yeah, I'm a graphic designer by trade. So I actually went to school for film, but then after doing that and doing some film editing for 5 or 6 years, I realized that wasn't really my path. I wasn't really being fulfilled by that, but I knew I wanted to be creative every day. So I kind of switched over to graphic design and trained myself. And so I've been working freelance in coffee shops and out of my apartment for 13 years. And right before the pandemic, I had started trying to work in like a co-working space to kind of mix things up and maybe get a little bit more professional with my meeting spaces, that kind of thing. And then when the pandemic hit, I really got sick of working out of my apartment. So I really went on the hunt to try to find a place where, I could afford to have an office and to really kind of separate my life and my private life and my design life. I'm sure artists can identify with that struggle. And so I found this little shop that's kind of at the end of the business district here on Voltaire, which is like the alternative street to Newport in Ocean Beach. And, it's cheap and month to month and, right in my budget. And I thought, okay, I could have my own big office here that's kind of sitting here and I just sit here alone in here. Or why not create a space that's, a space for community to happen and that I kind of felt was missing in OB, which was we kind of self-identify as weird and rebellious and almost punkish in OB, but we don't have a cool art store and we don't really have a real little art scene that's happening. We have all kinds of shell shops and the Black is kind of a cool old punky store, but we just didn't have an actual art store. And I remember growing up as a kid, loving going into little art stores that were locals, you could tell was local made stuff. It wasn't resold things from China. I mean, I could figure that when I was a 10-year-old, this is just crap from China, or this is really cool local, somebody down the street wove this, or something like that. So I was kind of reenacting what I liked out of my childhood and, what brought me joy through my life. So the idea was just to invite artists from around the community, to come in and bring what they're working on, and I do things on consignment and let them set their own price, so it kind of creates its own marketplace. So we started with maybe 40 artists when we started, and we're 2 years on now, and we have 223 artists or 26.
Wow.
I gotta look it up, but yeah, I don't have any more room in here.
I know.
But you can see like that.
When I've been the first time in your store, like there was already no room.
Yeah.
And you keep inviting new artists. That's amazing. That's really cool.
There's always room for stickers, right?
Well, yeah. That's true. That's true.
and
So,
art in the art
uh,
bins. Yeah.
so a little detour. So, for those of you who are not familiar with San Diego, every kind of a neighborhood in San Diego has its own vibe, if you will. So, Ocean Beach in San Diego is what Aaron is talking about. Yeah, it's kind of a little. Uh, can I call it like off beaten path, rebellious? Yeah, so I guess a little hip.
Yeah,
So
it definitely prides itself on being this kind of. It's an old hippie. Definitely, the hippies hung out here in the '60s and '70s and had their little fights with the popo. And we still have a little newspaper here called the Rag that is just rails. It's super progressive and left leaning, and but we also have like motorcycle gangs and like a little bit of everything. Like and and then there's just a lot of color here. People I think prefer to kind of stick together as this little rebellious community, and it's definitely not your average suburb.
so is this where you live as well?
Uh-huh. I live right down the street here.
This is really interesting that in the midst of the pandemic, when everybody was hunkering down, you were opening a brick and mortar and inviting artists to bring their work. I mean, that was really exciting. I guess. Well, yeah, 2 years ago, 2020, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
So
we opened
how
September 2020. Yeah.
so how did that all? I mean, nothing was open, nothing was working, and you were opening a totally new business. Not even. I mean, I'm trying to comprehend the whole story. It's really actually cool. I need a space for myself, but then I want to share that space, and that space transforms into a totally different business. Which my next question will be: how does it interfere with your graphic design business? Because I'm pretty sure you're running it full time right now.
Yeah.
So how did you survive in 2020, and not only survive, you thrived and you grew and you have so many artists and you're still open and you're having the second anniversary already.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I didn't do any market research or anything like you're supposed to do before you open up a retail shop. But also my overhead is not that high because I'm not reselling anything. So it's on consignment. I'm just representing these artists, and I kind of the asset that I can give to them is of course the place to put their art and show it, and then I can tell their story, right? Um, but what I didn't really foresee when I opened was that, especially during the pandemic, people weren't spending money on experiences. They didn't really have places to. People who had jobs and had money to spend, weren't spending money on experiences or vacations or dinners. So they almost needed something to spend their money on and kind of get out and just do some shopping. And a lot of the things we have in here are nice little items you could put in your house we had all kinds of cool wall macrame and of course art from people like you. So I had a kind of boom of business from those people that were really wanted quirky, fun, local things to buy for their own house. Or, I opened in September and we had that first holiday right after that. And, it was the perfect spot for people to buy that one of a kind gift for someone that they're not going to be able to go visit that year, or that they hadn't seen in a really long time. And that continued even to 2021, the holidays of 2021. That was kind of the first time people could kind of really go spend their holidays again together. So of course, shops like this do really well over the holidays. It's the perfect place to get one of a kind gifts. So I've seen that change now that things have opened up. There's businesses slowed down a little bit, and it's kind of changed what people are buying. They're buying more jewelry for themselves, or maybe we have a couple racks of clothing here, and they're maybe buying clothing for festivals that they're going to that they weren't going to in the last couple of years. So things have kind of changed a little bit. But yeah, it's been interesting. And my model for this place is like I don't really care about, like, I hate, like, I don't think about money. I don't think about profit at all. Like I don't think that that's just purely practical currency, right? That makes the world turn because that's the world I was born into. But that doesn't keep me up at night. Like what keeps me up at night is like, is the community that I'm in happy? Are the people in it happy? Is it like a healthy and thriving community that has people that are doing expressing who they are as they walk down the street, are comfortable to express who they are, or you know, aren't oppressed or suppressed or, you know, anything. Do they feel happy enough to make the art that they want? Like that makes me happy to see that happen in a community. So if I can facilitate that and you know, be some kind of weird little engine in the corner of the community that kind of encourages that, that makes me happy, you know. So that's kind of what Vervor has turned into, this little like serendipity machine where, you know, if you're a young artist, you come and see, you know, I had someone walk in a couple of days ago and he just does 3D printing, and it's like 3D printing these incense holders, and it's such a crazy little design, but he doesn't have anywhere to even market test this or see if anyone else wants this. And I said, hey, that's cool, man. Yeah, bring a couple in. We'll put it, you know, and see if people pick it up and look at it. So, but that's just, you know, he's not a designer or product designer by trade, but he has a cool idea and he wants to work on it. So it kind of gives him a shot to you know, see what it does in the world.
It really sounds like you found the best of all worlds. Like you're doing it not because you need to run the business, but because you're doing something that fulfills you, and you feel a sense of purpose, and you can't afford not to care about money. So my question is, like, this is your primary occupation probably right now, like running the store, right? It's taking most of your time.
Well, yeah, there's some context there. Like I mean, I care about money. I make design I make money through my design work, and I'm okay with that. And then, you know, the shop is kind of, if I can make my money back that I spend on rent, and then anything else is bonus, you know. I definitely don't want to sound like I can just, you know,
no,
yeah.
I didn't mean to make you look like you were like completely don't care about money, but yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, it's not the purpose of the store is not to make your profit. The purpose of the store it's actually really rare and really amazing.
Yeah, I think it helps I think that I only need a small amount of it to, you know, it would be nice if I make my rent back, you know, so I don't have to do extra work in my design work to make up for it. It does take the pressure off of how I treat, you know, who comes in here and who I can allow to come on the shelves. It makes it much more open, and it's much more of a kind of free flowing thing. And I make decisions differently. You know, I don't think I didn't think I was going to have really much jewelry or clothing in here. I mean, I'm not in retail at all before this, and I'm not a woman, so I don't necessarily naturally know about these things. But it's kind of opened my brain to, you know, I can have opinions about these things, and I can still sell these things, and I can still see the art in them and see the design in them, and it's been a really cool journey to kind of like just say yes to cool stuff. You know, even if I don't necessarily know about it or I have a strong opinion about it, I know if it's well designed, and I can take the opinion of friends and kind of see what happens when people walk through the door, and get a good beat on whether this is like, you know, this is interesting or not.
Well, you definitely built a very cool vibe in the store, and it all feels well curated and cohesive. So, how do you make the decision who is coming in and who's not? Do you like choose whatever you like, or do you have any system behind it?
You know, there's been some different phases. In the beginning, I really cast the net wide. I put the word out on social media. I let all my friends know. I kind of have a pretty wide group of casual friends, Burning Man group people. They're festival goers. They're generally creative. Through them, I know a lot of people that kind of travel around to festivals and sell their cool wares there in a little gypsy alley at these festivals. And so that was a cool like a community that I was already in touch with. And then I've also for the last, I guess it's been 10 years now, 10 plus years, I've been involved with throwing some electronic shows in San Diego. I used to throw bass shows for several years every Thursday, and then through my Burning Man camp, I've done much broader electronic music. But through them, I know a lot of creative people who I used to even have at this bass show. I used to throw. It's called Craft Tribe, which was this little group of vendors that they were making hats and live painting and young artists who now I see them and they're some of the best painters in San Diego. But I remember when they were just out of college. So I've always kind of have my hand up against this, but not as all the way in it when I did the shop. So I had a lot of the community kind of close by that I could tap into and say, hey guys, let's do this, come on in if you want. And then there was kind of a second phase where once we kind of had the shop established and a certain amount of stuff in here, I was like, oh, okay, we could do, this doesn't need to be this sparse Swiss design, pigment, that's a local shop here. That's kind of, it's more like, everything's here and well put and, super perfectly designed. I wanted it to be more like an antique shop where you could rummage around and find a little world and, maybe find a treasure in a corner. So I thought, okay, let's bring way more things in here. And so then I started was doing deep dives on like Instagram and following people and finding little pockets of artists. There's a pocket of Russian artists in San Diego. I had no idea they were here, but you find, one of them and they introduce you to the rest of the crew, and just so much talent. And then there's kind of little jewelry communities, and then like potters and people who are dealing in the ceramic world. You can find, one kiln where they're all, or a studio where they're all working, and 3 or 4 of them will say, hey, we're trying to look for a place to show our pieces, and you kind of hit little pockets of artists like that. So I kind of was active like that, I don't know, after about 6 months of starting the shop. And that was really fun to kind of hunt people down and say, hey, I'm a fan of your work. I like your elephants that you made that are cups, bring them in here. That was really cool to see. And then, it's interesting. They come in and they kind of poke into the shop, and, you can kind of tell right away if they're the right vibe, or maybe they're a little bit more independent, or I don't know, maybe they make fancier stuff than it should be here. But you just never know. It's been so fun to see who you end up getting along with and who you vibe with, people you just never would have met. And now I have people, once a week, someone walks through the door and says, I heard about this place. Here's this weird thing I make. I take a look at it and kind of, if it's creative, if it has expression, if it's emotional, if it's sensitive, I go after it. If it's colorful, I really like that. I'm interested in weird and truly unique, and something that isn't. You can tell when something's derivative and they're just trying something from a template, or they watch a certain amount of tutorials and they're trying their hand at something. It's like that's cool, but get weirder with it. So
no, I totally know what you mean, and I got to follow some of the artists on Instagram because I saw them on your page. So I bet you're way more versed in the San Diego art community than I am. So you got some really, really cool stuff in the store. Hey, In the Art Scene listeners. I just wanted to say a quick thank you for all the support you've given me in the past year. It means more than you know. Every donation through Buy Me a Coffee and every purchase of swag helps me keep up with the production and put out a new episode every week. And I certainly appreciate if you will keep doing it. But I also feel that if you like the show this much, you deserve a little more than just a thank you. This is why I launched a Patreon page. There will be monthly live Q&As, exclusive content, and for the hardcore fans, I got some swag and keepsakes. I love this community that we are building together, and by joining my Patreon, you will help me create more content for you. Go to patreon.com/intheartscene and join today. You mentioned you through the electronic shows. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, music is my life. I if you want to get really deep, the way I feel like I experience reality is through audio first. Like that's my primary uh, way I really process reality, I think, and then visual comes second. And I don't know, I love food too, but really audio, like music, I have it on all the time. Everything is like a pattern or a rhythm to me. I'm constantly drumming my hands. Played piano growing up and drums, so I remember when I discovered electronic music, it was like, oh my god, this is like the jazz of of now. You can take any sound, record it, and then screw with it. And there's still so much possibility there. So I'm going to be a lifelong fan of electronic music just because that's where it's at. That's where the edge is right now of music. Um, so, 10 years ago now, 12 years ago, I used to go to shows in LA, used to go to electronic shows and raves and stuff. And then I was taken to Burning Man by a friend. And that really opened my eyes to the kind of deep world of possibility there, and the variety in that subgenre of music. And when I came back to San Diego after Burning Man, I looked at our electronic scene and was like, we don't have a bass night. There's kind of house music and bass music is like breaks and glitchy electronic music. And so maybe it was kind of the same impetus I have for this shop. It's like, I'm going to create that scene. I don't see it, so I'm going to create it.
Yeah, I see the pattern here. Like, we don't have it. No, why do
I'm like, why not do this? Like, I mean, I think this is where I fit in, So I just started booking weekly. I was grandfathered into a bass night that had just started, and then the guy who started it kind of left, and they needed someone to take it over. And I said, I'm going to do this, and I'll never forget, the first couple of times I paid for an artist to come. There's this whole world of booking and, dealing with agents. And, I was like, I had this big imposter syndrome of like, I shouldn't be doing this. I don't know. I don't know anything about this, but it was a really fun journey to do that. I did that every Thursday for about 5 years. It was called Bass Tribe. And we booked these little shows down in the Gas Lamp, and grew the night from something that had maybe 20, 30 people a lot of them were just people walking by and heard funny noises. Mm-hmm. And we had a little crew there were a lot of kids that were in college and coming out of college, and they were at the right age to get into that kind of music and have their brain open to it. And so we did that for about 5 years. We had some really big shows. We had some, we ended up doing some cool names that are now huge, but we got to get them when they were small and had fun kind of losing a lot of money, but putting on some amazing music, and some truly artistic electronic shows that I'll never forget. And I still do that. I still book some of that stuff with my Burning Man account called Ego Trip. I still use all those agent connections and my experience with that, along with a whole team of people to do that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this weekend, so on Saturday, we're gonna have one of my buddy who was my partner at Bass Tribe and still my very good friend Dat is gonna DJ at the 2nd year anniversary. So he'll be here DJing in the evening if you stop by.
So a little remark for everybody. We are recording on September 21st, which is Wednesday. So this coming Saturday is the actual 2nd anniversary celebration and a little art walk, which we're going to talk about in the second. But by the time you are listening to us, it's already November, and it's time to just get your butts off the couch and go to Aaron's store and buy some cool gifts for people you love for these holidays. So let's get back to the anniversary and the art show. So you call it the art walk. So you're like competing with San Diego Art Walk, or what is it? What is it going to look like?
This is like a great example of this keeps happening at Vervor, and I don't know if it's like, I think it's just a product of, I think this is kind of how you have to gain life if you want serendipity to work out for you generally. You have to have a creative space that's wide open and like is just kind of set up to be a neutral, like Switzerland creative ground, and then just have ideas there and sit there all day. And but like so this, I've been thinking of that it would be really cool to have. So when I moved in here, there was there was Vervor, and then there's like Willow that's down the street is another cool little home goods artsy shop. They're similar to Vervor, and I think she does reselling. It's not consignment, but I think she has a lot of local stuff. It's really cool stuff down there. And then one of my artists that was in here actually opened up a shop down the street. And then I started to talk to 2 or 3 other people that were thinking about moving down here. I'm like, oh, is this? Whoa! What if Voltaire could turn into like this art district, this arts district? And there are a lot of open little spots here, and it was kind of turning into like this. We could kind of connect the dots and call it an arts district properly. And I don't know, wouldn't that be fun to try to really do that for OB and for San Diego even? I mean, San Diego doesn't even really have an arts district, which is kind of crazy. I
Well,
mean,
Barrio Logan is kind of a art district, but they are
you're right.
bringing, yeah, they're doing something weird in Barrio Logan right now. So
Yeah, I mean, it is, but it's like, would you call like Barrio? I would say Barrio Logan is where like artists work, but is there a place where like that is like the artist commerce place, where like galleries are, and I
there,
guess maybe like Gaslamp and a little bit in North Park, but like there isn't really like a central
North
place.
Park for sure. Yes, there were number of places actually in Barrio Logan, but some of them were literally like squeezed out because those artists and the galleries were bringing some interesting people to the districts. They started opening like breweries and restaurants and stuff and squeezing out the art community.
Yeah.
Because originally artists were working there and having galleries because it was really affordable. It was like almost a ghetto of San Diego.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and I mean, and in San Diego, that's a really tough conversation because like everything's not
yeah,
affordable, and like
real estate is tough.
yeah. So it's like, I mean, I guess I'm talking more about like it being the front facing part of the art scene. It would be a place for galleries or art studios, like, the place down the street here, Melanie, who does Sojourn Art, she is a proper gallery for her kind of crew of artists and people she knows in the art world. And that's kind of what I'm thinking. That plus, maybe there's ceramic studios. There's a gal, Roberta Sutton, who lives right down the street, and she has a little Airbnb that they figured out they're not going to turn into an Airbnb, but they're going to turn it into a little ceramic studio, and then she's going to have a front display place for her stuff, and her husband also is creative, so it's like those kind of little. I mean, any kind of expression work doesn't have to be just wall art.
So it sounds like OB is now really turning into another or a new art district of San Diego. So that's the idea, and you're working with the community to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, the end of the story is I've been kind of, this idea is kind of building up in my head, and it's like this sounds great, but I only have limited bandwidth. I have all these other commitments that I don't necessarily have the bandwidth to like start a new event, and then there's a lot of coordination there dealing with 20 vendors. How many vendors you want to do? You got to walking up, and this gal Savannah, who has this little company called Wolf and Juniper. She has candles here. She just came in and blurted that out one day. She said, "Hey, what if there was an art walk on Voltaire?" And it was like, dude, I'm already there. I'm already there. Like, I will support you with design. I'll social media. I will get behind this. I just can't champion it. Like, if you want to do it. And she said, I've done events like this before. I know how to do it. I want to do it. So she's taken the reins on that, and I'm like co-piloting right behind her, but it's one of those things that was like, what are the chances of someone coming in and just say, just exactly succinctly, repeating what is already in. So it means it's supposed to happen, if you ask me. So we're doing the first one on Saturday, and we're going to do like another Thursday and Saturday every month through the holidays. and then we're going to break it up. It'll be like the beginning of the month and the end of the month, and we'll see. That may be too many events. Maybe we need to go down to once a month, or maybe it's even less than that, like quarterly in the end. But we're going to we have 16, 17 vendors for this first one that'll be out on the sidewalks, which will be cool. We're going to kind of set up different areas and have string lights out and just make it really family friendly, so you can just walk around and kind of hang out. And then there are 10 businesses that are kind of anchoring those spots, so you're out in front of those businesses. But what I imagine in the end is having like bands out there, on the sidewalk, or busking artists, and then it'd be really great to have it like super family friendly, like if we're doing it from 3:30 to 8 p.m. every time, maybe at 6 o'clock there's like a kids reading hour or something, and at places where there's art studios like the Artist Outpost, which is going to be one of the stops, we could have just walk-in impromptu workshops or classes happening at 7 or 6, and then those guys are doing business, but it's also this kind of interactive please touch kind of thing, as opposed to just shopping. So once again, it's like a community building thing.
That's really cool. That's really when my kid is a little bit older and I will have a chance to leave him alone or with my husband or bring him along, I am definitely looking a place at one of your art walks, or maybe not one, maybe I have equipment stored in my garage right behind me that I haven't used yet.
Well, like, this is like the exciting part, which was a big lesson that I learned just opening this place, which is just, and it's like Oprah has said this a million times, just take the first step and, have some faith. And, if you're passionate about it and you have an idea and you have a little bit of confirmation, that other person who says, oh, I've had that idea too, or even just someone reacting well to you spitting it out one time, do it. Because I know we're going to have this first art walk, but like, it's going to be a totally different ballgame for the second one because of all the people that come out of the woodwork just doing the first one and putting the effort and the faith into the first one. Even this conversation will probably turn into something else, and that's what's fun about it, right?
Yeah. No, I'm kind of lucky with this podcast because absolute majority, like 99% of the people I'm interviewing, seem to be really synchronized with the universe. Like I keep hearing stories like that, like over and over and over in every episode. So, but I know that you asked for a hard stop, and we have a very, very little time left. I still have a couple questions. First of all, about the name of your shop, Vervor. What does that mean? Where does it come from?
Okay, well, so there's a couple parts, but I just really like the word verve. I always like what that means. It's some pizzazz, some. It's got some real unique energy to it, and it's a great word, verve. Like it just. And then one of my favorite bands of all time is The Verve. I don't know if people will probably remember like their big song, "Bittersweet Symphony" back in the day. But I love all their music. They've never written a bad song, if you ask me. It's kind of shoegaze, old school shoegaze guitar rock. So it's my little homage to them. And so what's a person who has verve? It's a vervor. But it's actually not been awesome because every time I say it on the phone, no one has any idea how to spell it, or like it just doesn't. You can't, like, especially if you don't speak English, really, it's it's terrible to get across. So
that has been my challenge because English is my second language, and whenever people are asking, like, I can spell it, I can type it, but ask me to pronounce it, I'm like, it really doesn't roll in my tongue very well. But
I don't know what to do, man. I mean, it's already established.
Well, you stuck with it.
Yeah.
People know you now. You stuck with it. It's okay. So another question I had, you mentioned feeling like an imposter when you were booking artists, musicians for those shows. So I remember feeling like an imposter when I first messaged you on Instagram. I was so surprised and kind of relieved and like happy when you said, sure, bring your prints along. So for the artists out there, and I know that a good amount of San Diego artists are listening to me, to this podcast. Like tell them tell them how to find you and how to pitch, how to get in touch, what to bring. Because
Yeah.
I know now that you are a super welcoming and open person, and everybody who's listening to this conversation obviously will realize it. But just a little kick in the pants.
Yeah. I mean, first off, screw that imposter syndrome. You know what that means? That means that you care. If you care enough to think, if you're thinking so hard about this that you think that you might be an imposter, that's not what it means. It means that you just care so much about what you're doing, and that's awesome. But throw the imposter stuff away and just go for it. The worst that can happen is someone is the tiniest chances they're an asshole, but they say no, and probably learn something from that. But anyway, to get in, and I'm totally guilty of that too. I get it all the time. But to get in touch with me, you could email me at Aaron. It's AARON at Vervor, VERVOR.com. You could call me 484-883-9476, or you could just message me on the Vervor Instagram, which is Vervor, VERVOR _shop. And I'm pretty active on there because I'm always posting about all the different things in the shop. So messaging me on there, particularly if you have your work on Instagram, is a great way for me to quickly see your work and take a look at it. And really, I don't say no often. I just say yes to really cool shit. So, and even if it doesn't a fit here, like I totally see myself as like a networker for people. And, if it doesn't fit here, I'm still a designer and I'm still a fan of great art. And, so I wouldn't overthink it too much. Like, I'd love to be in touch with anyone who's doing art in San Diego, so we can be in touch and collaborate. So yeah.
That's really cool. And we will put all the notes, all the links, all the contact information in the show notes. So if you're listening to this and you're interested and you want to reach out to Aaron, please go. There's link in bio. Go to show notes and just, click the button. And the very last one, because I know you're going to run. So we are, at the moment when people are listening to this episode, it's almost holidays, pretty much holidays. So the message for the shoppers now, please.
Well, don't wait till the 20th, because my shop gets torn apart between, I would say, once people come back from Thanksgiving, and then like starting in the second week of December, I do 10 times more business over the holidays than any other time of year. So if you truly want to get something, some things in here, I have 2 or 3 pieces by an artist, and then it's just gone, and they just can't make more stock. So if you really want to get something unique, you got to come early. But either way, we would love to see you. I got a lot of stuff in here, and it's got to go somewhere.
So for out of towners, because I know that there are a lot of people following you on Instagram and maybe they like something. Do you ship? Do you take orders? Is there an online store that you can direct people to?
I do ship. You can totally message me on Instagram and ask me to. I try to take kind of wide shots of the store pretty often, so people can please hit me up and say, hey, can you just send me a shot of what are those things in that corner, or ask me for a video. I'm very happy to do that. It's really fun for me to do that, and I will ship. It's been a long-term goal for me to get my online shop going, and I'm getting caught up a little bit in, apparently there's weird taxes with out-of-state stuff. So I need to figure that out. And then it's just going to be tedious to take a photo of the I don't know how many number of items there are in here, but 3,000 things, and weigh them all and measure them. But it's a long-term goal. I may have that done before the holidays if I really get up my own butt, but probably not. But Instagram me about any questions, and I will be glad to help you as if you were in the shop right now. So Yeah.
Awesome. And definitely by the end of the year, there will be more of the art walks. So if you're in San Diego or if you're coming to San Diego around the holidays, go to Ocean Beach, Voltaire Street, check out. Don't forget to follow Vervor Shop on Instagram to know when things are happening. So yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome. I love what you're doing for artists in San Diego. I'm a big fan personally.
Well, I love your art, and I'm really happy it's in here. So the feeling's
Thank you.
mutual.
Thank you. Well, we'll see you at the celebration. Thank you
Sounds
so much.
good. I'll have a drink ready for you.
Cool.
See ya.
Bye. It has been another episode of In the Art Scene podcast. If you liked today's conversation, please give us a good review on Apple. And go listen to other great stories. Check out our website intheartscene.com or follow us on Instagram at intheartscene for more content. If you are a creative and you want to share your story, shoot us a message from the website or DM us on Instagram. Look forward to seeing you next time in the art scene.